Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, the 5th of September. So, what we've got going on today, I was just looking technically, or I say technically, let's look at the fundamentals first. Fundamentally then, let me just unzip this as well, update it. There we go. We're looking at job openings there yesterday in the US, not looking as good as expected. Fallen quite a bit there, and there was comments from Powell that he thought that employment might be a bit more of a risk than anything else, and that it's a change of spotlight going there. Although the employment figures are not bad, or by any stretch of the imagination, in terms of what they're where they're sitting at the moment compared to previous, they are a point of worry. And his remarks were that we could see interest rates cut further, quicker, or more significantly, I think was the word. Anyway, Bank of Canada even, Bank of Canada kept rates they cut rates as expected even. Stuck with expectations there, and again, it's a bit more up and down there as we're looking at the conference comments, etc. Right, but I think we'll just continue to see the next two monthly meetings see rate cuts. Reserve Bank of Australia, I can't see too much comment coming through on that this morning. So today we've got the ADP non-farm payrolls. Construction PMI doesn't really move the UK too much. We've got the ADP non-farm payrolls there, and the final services. Now this one does, or did last month. It has started making a bit of a movement. You can see it's highlighted here. Previously that had probably been yellow, but the services data there, the final number, there's a lot more emphasis on it, and it seems to be moving the market a little bit more. And certainly last time, after saying well the final services won't really do anything, what did it do? It moved the market. So it's the ISM services actually that's the main point here, as opposed to the finals. But anyway, crude oil inventories later, so that'll be an interesting figure for the oil price. Right, the technicals. It looks like we might be catching a little bit of a hook here on the euro dollar. There's certain aspects of it that look certainly more bullish. However, from a 4-hourly basis, I'm looking at this, we have put a little higher low in there, but we're just right on the underside of the weekly pivot here. It would be a lot more bullish if it can break that weekly pivot. Above that, I would be much more interested. It could still react. It's air kissed the pivot at the moment. It might even go back up there and tap that in the 50 and react. So as much as I'd like to be charging into a long on this, you'd go into the hourly and you say, well, that's a long all day long. See what I did there? It's broken the trend that was coming down there. It's popped in a clear higher low. A break here would be normally, you'd be thinking, well, that's got potential for further upside. Hasn't even hit the daily pivot at the moment. It's not that far away from it. That could all change. As I say, I'm just wary of the weekly pivot being just above. It's just around about this sort of area where my cursor is, and there could be a reaction to that yet, along with a 50 moving average. So I just need to be patient with that one. The pound. Now the pound moved quite well yesterday as well. It's got a bit of a hook going on. It's not moving particularly much at the moment, but it's got its little hook there. But it's the same thing, and you see it's clearly yesterday afternoon there, it ran into the weekly pivot and did have a reaction and came off a reasonable amount relatively. But again here, structurally, yes, we've changed and we've broken the trend line, so that's the first step of that. And then as we come down the time frames, you can see we had yesterday, when in the morning there, already put a higher low in, which put me on clearer, but it needs to just break through that weekly pivot. The 50 MA is sitting there. It has reacted to it already. If it breaks through it this time, well then I'm on the long side. This could really, I mean, really just roll over from where it's sitting. As much as it's changed its structure and its trend at the moment, it could have been just a retracement in a bigger downward move. So I've got to be careful until it confirms it and breaks the highs there. Sorry, a lot of detail on those two, but the temptation is just to jump aboard, and it might be the right way, but we will see. The dollar yen, the yen continues to strengthen against the dollar here. The dollar just softening, and you just see more of the same. I was looking yesterday for sort of entry levels and entry points. It wasn't the clearest. It has now broken through some previous support levels, and looking, it really went. Actually, yesterday afternoon there, 3 o'clock-ish time, it broke through, ran all the way. It hadn't hit the pivot, so ran all the way down to its S2 quite easily. In the end, it's running that way. It just, again, here, would I sell here? No, I need to wait for it got its retrace yesterday. It just didn't retrace massively, but it gave us the thoughts or the expectation that it might have broken down further. This again, it's already down there into its S1 now. It's hit the S1 before hitting the daily pivot, so it's got more potential of coming through, statistically that is, and running down to that S2 at some stage. Just wait for the morning to start developing a little. Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar, well, a little bit in between here yesterday. It's not quite so convincing at the moment. It's quite messy still. Consolidation here, same sort of pattern as we're seeing with the euro and the pound, but not so clear. Actually, it's just come back to the 4 hourly. Yeah, it's way below its weekly pivot there at the moment. If the dollar started strengthening, this might be one that you could go to for a simpler short, effectively. It was clearer and stronger in some respects than some of the other markets, but on its little retracement previously there into yesterday, but it's just choking at the moment. US dollar CAD. The CAD strengthened yesterday, mainly on the US data. He wasn't overly dovish, the speaker, and well, it's again, it's below, it's above, so we're looking really inversion here because it's US dollar CAD. It's sitting above the pivot at the moment. It needs to break. It would be a much safer place to be taking the shorts. Now it hasn't hit the pivot today. If we start seeing it driving off down towards its S1 today, well, perhaps it's going to just fall down there. Head back down towards where the weekly pivot is. Didn't quite catch it last time, so a test of that may have a little bit of a bounce. So you just, if you're watching that, but very consolidated, very slow movement. New Zealand dollar. So New Zealand dollar selling off just as the Aussie. It's picked up a little bit better this morning, but it's still below its weekly pivot. Still really in this sort of downward trend. Hasn't structurally changed quite so much. It's tried. It sort of went straight up there, but then come back down. A break of this yesterday's highs there would certainly give a more confirmed higher low and see the structure of this changing. Now, looking at the time frames I'm looking at here, it's all really pointing towards sort of swing trades on some of these markets, on all these markets actually. So you'd be looking at these to be holding them potentially for longer. You're looking at a continuation here of this original trend line, or trend rather. Anyway, that's where we are there. Finally, Swissy. Again, a bit like the yen, it's heading southbound. It's strengthening against the US dollar. This is stronger in terms of its broken, or stronger for the Swissy that is. It's broken its weekly pivot there, whereas the others are trying. This is doing it, and well, it's just double bottoming here at the moment. Again, just a bit of patience needed on this, but we could easily see this, see a continuation on the US dollar Swiss. Right, okay, there's the majors. So really, the ones I'm really watching out on is the two majors there. The euro, will see what happens. It ideally needs to be above its pivot. Same goes for the pound. Okay, side of currencies, S&Ps. So the S&Ps yesterday slowed up, didn't follow through quite so much, but we could see a bit more of a rollover here. A lot of this is driven in terms of expectations and around the artificial intelligence, and it's really whether that's going to have. I do wonder, personally here, whether we'll see more of a correction coming away from this eventually. I'm not suggesting we necessarily will, but there's just it's like the .com and everything else, and you just wonder whether this sort of artificial intelligence ideas has blown the market proportionally out of step, whether it needs a more bigger correction. That's rare, me talking things like that, because I'm just really normally looking at the technicals. Well, the technicals are showing signs here. We've topped out over last week. It's sort of run in there and struggled around the highs there effectively. We've broken down this week, broken through the low there, so the double top is in play effectively, and we could certainly see, even if it's slower, more downside here, and it's certainly pointing that way for the moment. So there's me going against my usual bullish sort of zones of the S&Ps. Of course, I could be completely wrong in my idea that the AI might be the next dipper. It may actually come to its own rescue. Now, wouldn't that be crazy? Nasdaq, very much similar picture here. You'd expect it is. Sorry, that's not Nasdaq. That's the FTSE. Believe it or not. Sorry, let's get Nasdaq. Similar picture. Nasdaq is just that tad weaker, and it's remained that tad weaker compared to the S&Ps, which were up. It was up near its highs. This has never gone back up that way, and maybe the market where you're looking for the shorts on. If you're looking at shorts, it's the tech sector that's the problem, if you like, at the moment. Okay. Anyway, coming back to the FTSE. That also is looking a bit weak. We've got double tops here sitting in near term, and it's again similar picture on the lower time frames here. Lower highs coming through. Another break of this yesterday's lows. Yesterday's lows there would be much more bearish, but it's already looking softer this morning, and the S1 could be in play with the trend that's sitting there. DAX. Again, selling here on the short-term frame, bigger time frame. You see this correction. Still got the monthly pivot underneath. It becomes a bit of a target for it potentially, and same sort of picture through most of these equity markets. So you're looking at the similar things. It's just choosing the weakest to be trading if you're looking for the short side of equities. I didn't look at gold and oil. Let's just have a look at gold. We did see a bit of a surge coming through there. Picking up a bit. Yesterday it picked up a little bit. With the uncertainty in the markets, well, gold it might just feed gold. The softer US dollar might feed gold as well. So we could see this popping back towards this sort of this resistance level. Previous resistance level has pulled quite a way away from it. So it'll be interesting times if it gets up there. But it's not a great deal. It's not a long way away from its previous highs. Okay, and let's just have a look at oil then. So yesterday it did continue following through there yesterday. I was reading things that were sort of suggesting it might turn back, and OPEC have changed their terms, well, their comments, but hasn't really reflected too much in the market. You can see the little bobble there, but it's still looking pretty soft there. Now it's away from its daily pivot. If it went into its daily pivot, it'd be interesting to see if it could get the same sort of reaction yesterday. It didn't quite get there yesterday. The 34 put the brakes on before it got there, and it rolled back. We'll just see how it does. I think with the supplies coming back on stream and etc., and China teetering, the demand levels dropping, and they may even need to make cuts as opposed to increasing quantities. Anyway, if they want to stop this at the moment, it is looking soft. Looking at a bigger picture again on here, I keep having to come out to the bigger picture to look at where the support next sits, and we're really looking down. Well, you've got to look back at the last year's, looking at December's 23 sort of lows as the next sort of point there, then last July 23 lows. There's no point me actually calling numbers out from the side here, because everyone's, if you're looking at different brokers, you're not looking at the actual price, you're looking at the broker's price or quotations, so they'll all be slightly different, so don't get worried on the price levels. Look at the technicals. Right, that's it for me today. I wish you a great day's trading. As I say, I'm personally watching out on the major currencies there, the euro, the pound, to see if we can get a little bit more upside, see if we can break through. Haven't really got a downside projection or any ideas on them on the downside at the moment, because they just look both like they've got the potential. The risk sits around though the weekly pivot. Right, leave you there. Have a great day. Bye for now.